Some of you may recall back when I did my review of Zack Snyder's Justice League, I mentioned that this movie was so bad that it could not be summed up in just one video. I would need to make a bunch more videos breaking down every aspect of this film of why it was such a disaster. Now, I did say this back in March, and I was planning to get to this way quicker, but a lot more movies came out, I had a lot more reviews to do. I got busy prepping for college, so these videos just kind of got pushed off, and I'm finally doing it today because recently there seems to be a resurgence of the Snyder cult, is what I call it, of these whiny bastards online just completely throwing tantrums about when you say anything bad about Snyder. So I decided, yep, it's time to tear this film a new one yet again, and this will not be the last time. And something else you'll note, my voice is kind of hoarse. Yeah, I did a video recently where I talk a lot in all my videos, but I did a really long video recently where I had to do like 5 different takes of the same video, so my voice is kind of, my throat's kind of raw right now, so that's why I sound kind of, if my voice kind of like warps a bit and sounds a little hoarse, and that's because it is, but this needs to be done. So, and especially since there's nothing really new. Like, I'm gonna watch Ron's Gone Wrong eventually, but I already reviewed Dune a month ago, and even did a second thoughts a couple days ago, so there you go. But it's time to tear into why this movie fails at character. One of the things you'll see of people defending this film is that the characters are better in this film. They're wrong. They really are. And I have been one that defended Whedon's cut in my Snyder Cut video. And I still stand by that. I still think it's an okay movie, but I have a lot more respect for it now. After seeing this garbage, after seeing what it could have been, and what Whedon tried to do to fix it, much more respect for that movie now. So there, of course, will be a bunch of comparisons, and not just between those two, but to other iterations of characters, obviously. So let's jump right into this. Starting off with Batman. The problem with Batman in this movie is that he doesn't have any character. He's characterized as a guy who wants to make a team, and what else does he do in this film? He does literally nothing. He has no character throughout this film. Now, that can be said for a lot of the heroes in this, but Batman gets it the worst because, well, not only does nobody have an arc, but Batman just, like I said, doesn't have any character. He's just characterized as, I want to make a team, and then, yay, I made the team. What does this tell us about him? Absolutely nothing. What did Whedon do to help this? Well, he gave him a scene talking to Alfred about how Superman is more human than he is, as he doesn't think he fits the bill to be the face of the Justice League, as someone who hides in the shadows. Clark Kent, on the other hand, and Superman, not just Superman, but Clark Kent as well, should be the face of the Justice League, because he brings people hope. Although Snyder's films did not portray this very well, Whedon at least knows that's what Superman is supposed to be. And this Batman understands is by even having a line, like I said, he's more human than I am. And it gives him a reason to want to resurrect Superman. In this film, they resurrect Superman based on fuck all. They just say, oh, hey, this can resurrect Superman. No one bats an eye at it, and we'll get more into that when we talk about Wonder Woman. So like I said, Batman has not much to talk about, and that's such a crime because Batman is one of the most interesting fictional characters of all time. While he's not one of my favorite superheroes, not even my favorite DC superhero, he's definitely one of the most interesting because he saw his parents get gunned down right in front of him when he was 10 years old. That trauma that he has from being a child, and he uses that to fight criminals, and he doesn't kill them. His no-kill rule is one of the most important aspects of Batman, and that was erased in the Snyder movies. In this one, you can say, oh, he doesn't kill anybody in this movie because he doesn't fight anybody. He fights aliens, and that's it. So, that argument is invalid for this film. And so everything interesting about Batman was thrown out the window. Why? Because Zack Snyder is a horrible writer, and so is Chris Terrio and David S. Goyer. They are horrible screenwriters, and they don't know how to write character. They know how to write shitty edgelord fan fiction. That's what these movies are. So, enough of that. Let's move on to Superman. Superman. I don't see Superman anywhere in this movie. Why? Because he's completely out of character yet again. I mean, God. Yeah, the other movies established that he's a psychopath, essentially. He causes just as much damage as Zod does in Man of Steel. And BVS, he still ends up killing people. So, again, core aspects of Superman, chucked out the window. And now, in this film, not only does Superman have very few lines, we don't learn anything about his experience of him being killed by Doomsday and coming back to life. Whedon actually gave us an explanation of throwing in a line about why he wouldn't go in the house, because being inside a wooden box was too familiar. That's great. And it shows in the fight with Superman that his memory is coming back in pieces when Batman says the world needs you. And he even references the "Do you bleed" line from BVS. It shows that his memory is coming back in pieces, that he remembers his conflict with Batman, but doesn't really remember the resolution. He remembers that Batman tried to kill him, but he doesn't really remember that they put aside their differences to fight Doomsday. That's really interesting. Nothing interesting is done here. He's given just as bland of a personality as the other two films. He has virtually no dialogue. He gets a black suit that wasn't going to be originally black. You see behind the scenes photos from 2017 when it was originally shot, he didn't have the black suit. He had a blue and red suit. But Snyder changed it because he wanted the film to make people think that this was totally different, and we'll get more into that in another video. And I lost where I was. Oh, right. The black suit has no story relevance in this at all. He wastes time going to get his suit while his team is fighting for their lives and for the planet. Alfred doesn't bother to tell the team that Superman is coming. There's a reason that scene was cut from the theatrical version, is because why didn't Alfred tell them he was coming? I guess he wanted to be a nice surprise, but what a dick. Again, I keep losing where I was because I keep getting sidetracked. Oh yeah, and then at the end, he's supposed to be like the renewed Superman. He should be back to the way he was before. He should be the hopeful Superman. I don't see lasering off part of Steppenwolf's head as being Superman. Though then again, this franchise has already painted Superman as a violent psychopath, so what should I have expected? Wonder Woman. Once again, I'm bringing up the no-kill rule because it was semi-established in Wonder Woman that she doesn't kill. It doesn't show her killing anybody. Because, other than Ares, but really that was the only way you were going to defeat him anyways. You can't just knock him unconscious and send him to jail. So other than Ares, she does not kill. It's never explicitly stated, but the sentiment is there. This one, she's chucking guys into the wall, splattering their brains all over the walls, and then uses her god-killing super move to vaporize a man and blow up a chunk of the building, endangering everybody else and all the innocent civilians in the room and everybody on the ground. Psychopath. And again, after that, she has no personality. Well, Gal Gadot can't act to begin with, so even if she had a personality, it wouldn't shine through. But she just has no character in this. And again, something that Whedon did is her pushing back against Batman wanting to resurrect him because he's fueled by his guilt, but she knows the consequences of what could happen. And she's even given a really great scene where she's talking to Bruce, and she doesn't feel right about being a leader because she doesn't like telling people to put their lives on the line for a cause because they're all Steve Trevor. That's great, instead of just having her moping around about some guy she knew for less than a week who died. He actually serves a purpose for her mentioning him, instead of just saying, oh, I lost someone I loved once. You knew him for 4 days. Shut up. And that carries over in Wonder Woman 84, that piece of shit. I need to do a cinematic disasters for Wonder Woman 84 one of these days, but not today. And like I said, again, there's just nothing else to talk about because she's just so bad in this. Again, she's another violent psychopath who is not in line with the previous films or the comics or the animated shows or anything else. The actual basis for the characters are thrown out the window for Zack Snyder's shitty edgelord fan fiction. Moving on. The Flash. What do you say about a character that has nothing going for him? Again, there's just no character here. There's no arc for anybody in this movie, and Flash gets it the worst. His introduction in this film is him going to a job interview and him saving Iris West, apparently, from a terribly done scene that I'll get into more when I get to the action department in a different video. But he doesn't bother to save anybody else on the freeway. I don't think anybody was killed there. They don't show it. And the guy in the truck, he's probably dead. I don't care if he was an idiot that caused the crash, he's probably dead. Because instead he goes up to stroke Iris's hair and stare at her creepily while he brings her back to the ground. And people said Joss Whedon was a perv for throwing in a joke where Flash lands on top of Wonder Woman, and it's played as an awkward joke. That's why it didn't bother me, because it was trying to be funny. But everybody else flipped their shit because it was a joke, and Snyder fans don't like jokes, so they tried to make him out to be a creepy perv. Yet this is fine. Especially, it doesn't help with the god-awful music choice and him grabbing sausage out of the air, and I'm going to leave the rest of that sentence ambiguous, because you all know what that's implying. So, he just has no character in this film. Apparently his big payoff is him using the powers that got randomly dropped on him to automatically win the fight. Unlike something like Doctor Strange, where it used time travel to win, he was using it to outsmart the villain by putting him in a time loop until he left. It wasn't an automatic win button because he still had to use his powers and was still sacrificing himself. Because he was willing to stay in that time loop as long as it took. Flash, he sacrifices nothing, tests nothing, proves nothing by pushing an automatic win button. That's not good character writing. That's not good writing in general. But again, I'll shit on that scene more when I get to the action department. And there's these really terrible lines of dialogue that make you think he has more character, like when he says, "Superman was my hero." Why? Why does he feel that way? Why did he look up to Superman? We don't know. It's never explained. It's the illusion of character, not actual character. Cyborg. You know what? Hang on. There's something else I want to talk about the Flash. That entire final battle, he has him running around like an idiot to build up a charge that shouldn't be needed. Where in Joss's cut, he was afraid. He was a rookie. So he was nervous about going into battle. But by the end, he mans up and actually helps out by destroying parademons and saving civilians. And also, Superman saves civilians. About freaking time it's actually refreshing to see someone being saved in a Snyder film. But again, Snyder has him run around in a circle like an idiot the entire time because he doesn't know how to nurse the Flash. Cyborg. People say this is better in the Snyder cut because we get more, but we also get way more problems. In the Whedon cut, it was established that he was still figuring everything out. There's even a line that, "There's a language in my head that I don't speak. I wake up every day different, modified." And then he floats off the ground and said, "Couldn't do that last night." And okay, that's great. And then the fight with Superman, his auto defense system goes off, and that was in the Snyder cut too, but was done worse for reasons that I'm about to get into. The reason that scene is done better in Whedon's is because we had another example of his auto defense. when Steppenwolf is threatening his father, his arm suddenly turns into that little, like, ion cannon or whatever the frick it is, and it's not him actually powering it up like I used to think, because if you look closely at his face, he's looking at his arm like, oh shit, not yet, and it does it on its own, and he's like, and then he just says, fuck it, I'm gonna just fly in. So it makes sense, because we had another example of it, and it leads to more character for Aquaman later on, which I'll get into in a second. And then, but in Snyder's version, he seems to he has mastery over everything. He doesn't have to adapt. We don't see him adapt to his new electronic parts. Because again, Snyder doesn't know how to write developing superpowers. He just likes to give everybody every superpower they will ever have. That's why he already gave Flash time travel and phasing, something Whedon's Flash didn't have yet. And in this one, he doesn't have to develop anything, because he just has mastery over every electronic ever. And why doesn't he just send a nuke to the site where Steppenwolf is... to the site where Steppenwolf is creating the Trinity, Unity, whatever the fuck it's called. All he has to do is send a nuke, and it'll at least get rid of all the parademons. Even if it doesn't destroy the bond, you will destroy every parademon in Steppenwolf in one foul swoop. But no, we have to have a really contrived action sequence in the end. And the fight with Superman, where his auto-defense system goes off, it comes out of nowhere just for the sake of the plot, and we didn't have a scene that set this up. And not only that, but this lead, and something else with Silas Stone, I don't even know if I need to bother going to Silas, but I'll push him in with his son here, because honestly there's not much to talk about, but he makes the stupidest ass decision. Instead of giving the team the mother box, which is the most important thing on the planet, he decides to go mark it with a heat signature. Instead of giving it to his son, or to one of the other members of the Justice League. And where's Batman during that fight? In the Whedon cut, it shows why he's not there, because he's bringing in Lois Lane. In Snyder's cut, he's doing fuck all for a good 5 minutes. But he could have been going getting the mother box, but no. No, this movie can't be smart. This movie can't make any smart decisions. And neither can the characters, where Silas decides to put a tracker on it, which, what if it cooled? It's a magic alien space box. What if it cooled so they couldn't track it? And you'd think they'd be able to track that thing regardless. But okay, so yeah, Silas is a complete failure in this one. It's a good actor, but man, Silas is so stupid in this movie, and he dies in this one because of a stupid decision he made. And then Victor just... I've already gone over everything wrong with Victor. There's so much more that needs to be talked about here, but honestly, I think the failure of Cyborg needs its own video. Because, again, it's like such a comic... It's such a comically childish depiction of this character, because you're just giving him all the power in the world. It's essentially what they're trying to keep Steppenwolf from getting, and Cyborg just has it. That's not good, especially when you're giving it to a 16-year-old who hates humanity. That's not a good thing. Aquaman has literally nothing going for him in this movie. I'm trying to think if there's anything to talk about. He spends the entire movie being the cool guy who does cool things, I guess, but... Again, Whedon's cut made him better, because there is a scene after they fight Superman where Aquaman is rightfully pissed at Cyborg because he couldn't control the machine. He couldn't control his auto-defense, and now they don't have the mother box. So they end up getting their ass kicked by Superman. And now Superman's missing... And why don't they go send the Flash to go find Superman? Like, instead of just hoping he comes along? Yeah, that's really smart. Send Flash to go get him, or send Cyborg to go get him, or something. But no, in the movie, in Snyder's film, again, Aquaman has nothing going for him, and we talked about the scene where... he's pissed off at Cyborg. Like, there's a similar scene in Snyder's version, but it was only there to prompt the history lesson. That's it. He never shows up again. His distrust of Victor never shows up again, all for the sake of pointless drama. And in this one, again, he has a very good reason for being pissed at Cyborg. His armor malfunction that caused them to get their ass kicked by Superman and let Steppenwolf get the box. And only that, you can tell by the end of the film, he's gotten over his anger towards Victor as they combo up in the final fight. It's great. You don't need a ton of explanation about why he's suddenly no longer against Victor. It's implied, and that's good. He's showing that he's helping them, and his armor isn't malfunctioning anymore. So he combos up with him, and it's not great, but it's better. Steppenwolf. You know what's funny about Steppenwolf? In the original cut, he's essentially what this film's Darkseid is. Darkseid is a failure. You know what? I'm gonna get into the villains in a different video. I'm gonna stick with the other characters. Martian fucking Manhunter. I have never seen such blatant, disrespectful sequel bait ever. Ever. Not only was the nightmare scene atrocious, this was worse. It paints him as the universe's greatest coward, essentially. What's he been doing in the last three or four by this movie? World-ending events? Absolutely nothing. And in the movie, like, oh, I've seen people come together. I'm ready to help fight to save humanity. Why didn't you start in Man of Steel? Yeah, you were posing as the army general in that, but what did you actually do in that fight? Or how about Batman v Superman? He shows up, but what does he actually do? Suicide Squad? Doesn't even show up. This one does nothing. He almost convinces Lois Lane to go back to work, which would have fucked over the League, as had she not gone back that one last time, she wouldn't have seen Superman and saved him from killing Batman. How fucking convenient. Martian Manhunter was utterly disrespected in this movie. I don't even want to talk about Mara. I didn't really like the character that much in Aquaman, and less said about Amber Heard, the better. Alfred is Alfred. I really like Jeremy Irons, and honestly, he's spot on as Alfred. He's probably my favorite iteration. Him and Ben Affleck were probably the only good things in fucking Batman v Superman. And I think Jeremy Irons was the only thing good in this movie as well. He actually had some decent lines, but that's it. And again, why didn't Alfred tell them that Superman was coming? Why did he have to be a dick about it? I don't know. I'll never know. And honestly, I don't care anymore. Nothing to talk about with Lois Lane. At least in Whedon's cut, she was given something resembling character where she talks to Clark about how she kind of fell into a depression after he died, and how he would have been disappointed, and how she's not been strong after he died. Like, oh my god, we're actually getting some character for Lois Lane, something we have not gotten in this fucking franchise. But all of those scenes were cut out with an axe because Snyder doesn't care about character. And yeah, that's it. Martha Kent, no. And especially the scene where she's revealed to be the Martian Manhunter, that was obviously filmed afterwards because he needed to justify Manhunter showing up at the end of the film. That made that scene so much worse, and because they still had that heart-to-heart in Whedon's cut, but the Martian Manhunter element was cut, so it was actually a good moment between Clark's fiancée, I guess, and his mother. It's great, but they acted out for shitty fan service. Is there anybody else worth talking about? Not that I can think of. Nope. So yeah, from everything I said, these characters are thin or completely destroyed. There are no arcs in this film. Batman doesn't have an arc. Superman has barely any screen time to begin with. Wonder Woman doesn't have an arc. Flash has a... No, it doesn't have an arc. He doesn't even have a regressive arc. It's just no arc. Cyborg, no. Aquaman, again, nothing for Aquaman. Oh. I don't understand how people can say they have better characters. They don't. They are worse. And it costs 2 more hours to get thinner characters. That should not be possible. It's the equivalent of turning a short film into a feature-length film and getting less character in a 2-hour movie than in a 45-minute short film. That shouldn't be possible. But somehow Snyder and Terrio pulled it off. In a way, I'm almost impressed. And in another way, I am absolutely pissed off. So, join me next time on... I'm not even going to call this a show. I'm just going to... Join me in the next video when I talk about why this movie has possibly the worst story in superhero movie history, or in blockbuster history, I should say. That'll be fun for anybody else but me, because I have to freaking talk about it.